Hi everybody, welcome to Shivers. Today we're doing a delayed new movie review for the newer movie Passenger. This was really swept under the rug because it came out right in between Obsession and Backrooms, but I want to give credit where credit's due. As it stands right now, it has a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it doesn't, I'll tell you right now, it doesn't even compare to Obsession or Backrooms, but this, in my opinion, is what I would consider a cleaning day horror movie. So stick around for the actual story or fast forward to the end for just the rating. But to kind of give you a brief synopsis, we're not really working with that much. So I think what they did already off the bat well is create a solid, good story off of not a whole lot of material. So the creator of this, the director of this, is André Øvredal. He's the person who made the Autopsy of Jane Doe and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So again, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was a pretty good adaptation, book to movie form, a couple of years ago, but it's still what I would consider a cleaning day horror movie. It's something you put on in the background. Autopsy of Jane Doe is actually pretty scary. So he has a lot of potential for sure, but we're focusing on characters Maddie and Tyler pretty much the whole time. We do start the movie with a little bit of a sort of a flashback, but also flash forward. So these two kids, teenagers, 20-some-year-olds, are driving on this highway down a very long, dark stretch of road. So already also we're getting almost like the superstition, the lore of what me growing up would have heard as the Suskin Screamer, what someone else would have heard of is, the woman in black type of thing. So dark, scary, creepy, sort of raining road. And one of them has to pull over to go to the bathroom. So they made a comment earlier that they had stopped for people who were in a crash. So already we're starting to develop the rules as well. So they pull over, go to the bathroom, and the person who stays in the car is then yanked from their car from some mysterious source. Later, what we find out is the passenger. So the passenger is just that. It is a scary story told in the woods, specifically known by a lot of hitchhikers who stay off of those dark roads at night. And the biggest rule of all is don't pull over to try to help someone. So we only see the person who went to the bathroom get back in the car, and then that's all we see from them at that point in time. We then jump over to Maddie and Tyler, our main characters of the actual movie, and they are leaving their life in New York City behind to sort of chase this life on the road, to start exploring, to start going to all these different places. And at first, it's really great, but Maddie herself is very apprehensive. She keeps looking around at people who have like dogs and families and just walking down sidewalks and regular lives. And Tyler is just so excited to finally break free of the mold, break free of everything that sort of has got him here to this point. And later in the movie, they start talking about their past and how they grew up totally differently. And Maddie makes a comment that she was in the foster system and she never really had a home. And Tyler, on the other hand, had very strict, almost militant parents. And so all he wanted to do was escape home. So it's a really great conversation on growing up and how that really starts to influence what we want out of life. And if you've just completely grown up differently or have different foundational values, then it's never going to get anywhere. So when we start kind of going on their road trip with them, it's very much butterfly effect right off the bat. They want to go to this hot springs in North Carolina. This is also where myself and everyone else who went to the movies pointed out a flaw, is that in the morning they're at the beach and they're talking about we have to get to this location for the hot springs by sunset, call it. And they pull up their GPS and they're like in the middle of North Carolina looking to go to Tennessee, but they're at the beach. I can tell you for a fact there are no actual beaches in the middle of North Carolina with waves and all. So a little bit of a hiccup there. But either way, they get a little bit of a late start. She then wants to stop for barbecue. And so it's this ripple effect. It's the butterfly effect that is preventing them from getting to this hot springs. Their reservation then gets canceled because they get stuck in traffic because they made a pit stop. And then they have to now drive through the night in the dark roads on said same road that we started with in the beginning of the movie. So as we're driving from their perspective, they catch up to the boy who was left in the car from going to the bathroom. And he's pulled off to the side of the road. The car's all smashed. The front window is gone. And they decide to get out and help. So now they have what I'll consider the entity sort of snatched onto them. When we get to the actual scene, there's really nothing left of this car. This boy is telling them to go drive away, and they do, and then there's all these very eerie feelings that they start to get. They also start seeing, and we as the audience start seeing, all of these signs along the road that are all about Saint Christopher and Saint Christopher being the patron saint of travel. So we already know that we're going to need some sort of like protection against this folklore, this person and this passenger. So Maddie and Tyler are now moving on with their journey. Maddie is starting to feel very, very homesick, really tired of this traveling around. And Tyler is living his best life. So again, just from a foundational perspective, they are already starting to go into different directions. So they stop at this RV meetup. And in the middle of this RV meetup is this bonfire, and it's the burning van rather than Burning Man, which is really cute. But we already then can start to see the foreshadow of things to come. Obviously, based on that, you're going to have to burn your RV. And they have a very nice RV. It's completely decked out inside. It's basically a Mercedes. It's lovely. So on the cars that have this passenger, there are 3 scratch marks. And this woman named Diane comes up to Maddie, and she's like, you have these splash marks in your car. Like that you're marked. You're destined to have a really bad time with the passenger. So she tells her this whole lore of the passenger, the rules that you can't pull over and help out someone who's on the side of the road. You really just have to kind of mind your own business and continue on with your travels. So she's like, me just even talking to you, I don't like this vibe. I don't want to test it. I don't want to test fate. This thing is sort of like a demon, and so you need protection from St. Christopher. But you also need to know how to read the signs. There are lots of hitchhiking signs and traveler signs all over the place. They're marked with these different types of markings, as well as this 3/mark too. So start paying attention. So after this is really where we get into the second half of the movie, and it's questionable choices from here moving forward of these characters. So Maddie's completely freaked out, but Tyler doesn't believe her, and he just thinks that she just wants to go back home. He ends up proposing to her, and she's like, this is now the life that I don't really want. Like, when is this traveling going to end? When are we going to have our fun kind of stop and go back to responsibilities? And he's like, it's not. Like, this is just our life now. And so she doesn't necessarily accept his proposal right away. So after that, she tries to get him to start believing her. And they stop at this gym. One of the people at the RV meet tells them that the best place to just go shower and sleep in the parking lot is go to a gym parking lot. So they go to what is only assumed to be Planet Fitness and take their showers, do their thing. She's like, okay, I'm going to go meet you out by the car. And of course, in very dumb fashion, she decides to go outside by herself, basically at like midnight. And there's only one creepy car in the parking lot that is near her. But she's just standing there, and she's not confronting these guys that are in the car. She's not rushing to get to her van. She's just lingering and just being really stupid. And so she's texting her boyfriend to come outside, but she's not getting any service. And then she finally gets into the van. And this whole sequence is filmed in like a circle. So you're basically nauseous at this point. She finally gets into the van, and then the van starts shaking, and she's watching the cameras of everything outside the van to make sure it's not these guys in the car. And it's not, it's the passenger. So it's coming to haunt her. And this is when Tyler finally starts to believe her. So they go to this gift shop, they buy all of these St. Christopher, I think I said St. Andrew, St. Christopher's coins and blessings and all of these things. And now they're trying to figure out how they can actually get rid of this entity, this spirit, this thing. And it only comes out at night. So they track down Diana. I'm skipping a whole lot here because this is where there's a lot of filler. So they track down Diana from the RV meet. She's now at this other compound, and they arrive at night, and she's like, so you're marked, you decided to follow me, you decided to bring whatever this thing is here. That's not good news. Like, maybe someone here has a flat tire that does count as you pulling over to help them. You're just sort of perpetuating the process. We gotta go. And what you need to do is find your way to St. Christopher's Church, because that is the only place that anybody has known to actually survive this passenger entity being attached to your car. But nobody knows where St. Christopher's Church is, just inconveniently. So she's like, as I told you before, what you can do is read the signs, look for all of these hitchhiker and traveler guides, things like that, and try to find St. Christopher's Church. We know it was somewhere near XYZ location, so kind of hover around that area. In the meantime, please get out of here because you've just brought evil to this compound. So this is, again, where the rules don't necessarily completely follow, because who's saying that all of these people deserve to die or have this attachment to them because they brought this entity there? But it doesn't catch the rules. Again, you have to pull over, you have to hopefully help somebody. I mean, maybe that counts as her helping them, but then that entity would move on to her. And it doesn't. It just kills her. So then Diana's dead. All these other people from the RV park are popping up, and they start driving, and her rule is like, you guys can't drive at night. Like, this is when this thing is going to get you, and it's going to try to scare you. It's going to try to pull you out of your car. Don't let that happen. Don't drive at night. And of course, they just don't fucking listen. They just don't. So they're driving at night, and then they get this right before sunset. At one point, they get a flat tire. And this is where everyone in the comments and everyone in my group had gripes, because Tyler loses all the lug nuts underneath the car, but then Maddie's walking around the car with the flashlight, walking away from him. And it looks like as he's crawling underneath their van to get the lug nuts, that her foot is like right there. So you just walk around the car and grab the lug nuts and not try to crawl underneath the car. So very predictably, you know what's going to happen. The car falls on him. She gets snatched by this passenger, and her St. Christopher's cross coin is the only thing that's really protecting her. So they find their way to St. Christopher's Church, and there's all of these abandoned cars and all of these bodies, and they decide and they agree that what their job is just to keep driving. Like, anything that they see here is probably a figment of their imagination, because this thing is trying to trick them to not go to the church. And so they just drive straight. And it's a pretty cool effect that they did with all of the bodies that are on the ground. They are very obviously CGI and fake, but as they're driving with the van, they're actually driving over something. It's pretty cool. This is then the grand finale of the movie. They drive into the church, and the passenger then gets stuck onto this St. Christopher's pole, I guess, and evaporates, and the church catches on fire, and all of the police come, and that's how the movie ends. And then she says yes to his engagement, and he says, okay, we don't have to travel anymore. So everybody wins. So this is why I say this is a great cleaning day movie. It's a good for the background. That's really about it. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it. But in terms of the rating itself, for the story, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's well thought out. Besides the scene of everybody at the car meet getting taken, I think that it's kind of solid. And I like the background of them growing up and having their differences there. For originality, though, I would give it 2 out of 5. I don't think it's very original. This feels like something we've heard and seen in folklore and stories and campfire stories all over the place. For acting, I think that everybody in this movie did a really good job. I would give 5 out of 5. It was believable. I felt like they were in a relationship. I felt like their scares were genuine. It was pretty good acting. For production, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. We have lots of different locations. We have lots of different sets. We have the whole ending with St. Christopher's Church. It's pretty cool. I like the ending. I like the production, I should say. So 4 out of 5. And then for scares, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 out of 5. This is not at all a scary, stereotypical movie, besides just the ending with all the bodies. You also have a little bit of the gore from in the beginning when the passenger gets the first person, and then when the passenger gets Diana. So it's kind of gory, so maybe 3.5 even I'll give it. But all in all, that gives us a 3.5 out of 5 for The Passenger. I don't think that it's bad. I've said it before, I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's great. I would not pay money to watch it, but I think it's better than being completely swept under the rug from Obsession and Backrooms. So if you're looking for just sort of that classic, I don't want to even say slasher, but just that classic scary movie, you got it. So let me know if you like The Passenger, if you want to give it a shot. Let me know your thoughts.